Today, we will explore some true facts about the American black vulture. High up in the skies, in the deadliest game of Around the Bridge ever, you will find a kettle of vultures flying around. Yes, a group of vultures in flight is called a kettle, just like how a group of snails is called a plate and a group of gorillas is called an egg cuber. Who did this research? Was it Jerry? Why do you allow him to do this research? He's clearly an idiot. Well, okay, but don't let Jerry do more research on animal groups. The American black vulture is a medium bird of carrion. This means that vultures don't actually hunt for their food. Rather, they fly around looking for an animal that has already died for them to feed on. This feeding method is called scavenging, and it's quite beneficial since it allows for little competition as well as little energy wasted trying to kill the animal. You try it. Go outside and walk around the streets for the entire day, stealing the leftovers that people leave outside those fancy restaurants with tables outside. That is how the vultures do. Sure, it might seem like a glamorous lifestyle, but vultures have it tough, because the meat they consume is usually meat that has already started the process of decomposition, in which the body starts being broken down by the enzymes it produced before death, as well as deadly bacteria that start feeding on the body now that its immune system does not function. For this challenge, vultures have developed a highly corrosive stomach acid to counterattack everything that they put into their bodies. Just like my grandpa used to say, you don't have to ask where what you're eating was if you can set it on fire before eating the marshmallow while it was still on fire. Because vultures are often the last animals to feed on a corpse, they usually don't find a lot of food on one sitting, so they'll gorge on everything they can find, be it stray pieces of meat on the bone or the actual bone of the animal. Vultures will stuff themselves full until their crops, a thin, well-expanded portion of the alimentary tract used for the storage of food prior to digestion, is absolutely stuffed, making it very difficult to take flight once again. Because of this, when vultures have just fed and they feel threatened by something, they will vomit to lighten their weight and make it easier to take flight. It's a good form of defense, really. You try pursuing someone after they've just vomited all their lunch to run away faster? I wouldn't do it. You don't know if they have some more in them to launch at you. And what if I step on this stuff? I can't use those shoes again. Speaking of flight, vultures will usually live on very high areas, be it trees or mountains, because the wind currents that exist in the altitudes help these large animals take flight more easily. Because if they only used their wings to take flight most of the time, they would waste too much energy flapping about to constantly look for food every day. The American black vulture, that lives mostly in South America, often lives near rivers and páramos, as those places, even if they're close to the sea level, still produce enough currents to allow them to take flight. Paragliders actually guide themselves based on vulture kettles, as they will usually fly around in incredibly effective wind currents. It's a mixed bag, really. You get to live without the harsh competitive environment of carnivorous life, but you also get a large amount of energy from feeding sessions, and you also have a very important role in most ecosystems as a decomposer. But because you have a bald head and eat stinky meat, much like the French, you are shunned by society as a filthy animal and an omen of death. But unlike the French, the vulture actually has a reason to live this lifestyle. Vultures are bald so that deadly bacteria and parasites cannot burrow on their heads. They also don't have a proper voice box because it would be singed every time the animal would have to vomit. As such, the vultures does not have a song, and their vocal communication is reduced to bill clicking and hissing, much like a goose. Vultures are wonderful animals, and they survive in such a way that they don't need to upset any other animal's lifestyle. As such, they are the least competitive birds we know of, and since they're generalists, the vulture's only threat seems to be being too chubby to fly. Instead of seeing vultures as an omen of death, see them as very hard-working cleaners that help the lands be clean and good smelling. Just remember, if your roommate is bald and constantly eating your leftover burritos, don't confront them about rent, or they might vomit on you.